Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so we're gonna round out a few other games you can be playing while you're waiting for patch 3.18, like me. Now, if Bannerlord met that RPG element for you, but you still miss space, I got a different genre of game for you that totally meets all of your space expectations, and that's more role playing than you think it might be. And I'm gonna walk you through how that is. So this is Stellaris. Stellaris is made by Paradox Games. If you've played Crusader Kings or if you've played Europa Universalis, you'll know just how technical and nuanced Paradox can be about their game mechanics. So let's walk you through the RPG elements of this game, though. Basically, the way that you're going to RPG with this is similar to how you would with Bannerlord. You're going to imagine yourselves in a universe. But this is very similar to Star Citizen. Star Citizen doesn't give you a character story. You build that character story. And that's one of the most fun things, I think, about playing and engaging with these games, and what I'm looking forward to showcasing to my son as he grows up. I love engaging with my imagination and building stories. All right, first thing, when you start a new game, you can do a few different things. Number one, you can just go ahead and pick United Nations of Earth and be humans. You can also be reptiles or mammalian platypi. Platypi? Is that the put in the comments if you know the actual plural of platypus. You can be Holy Tribunal. Anyway, there are a whole bunch of different options. This is with no DLC, by the way. I don't have any of the DLC. I probably will get some, but I don't currently own any. Skladaria is actually pretty fun, but there are pros and cons to each of these different factions. I do recommend just playing as United Nations of Earth for your first time. It'll feel a little bit more familiar to how you would imagine a spacefaring game to be, and you'll have human issues. Humans are adaptive. We can live on many different planets. We'll find a way. I actually find this to be hilarious because I feel like reptiles would be able to live in other places better than we could. But anyway, let's not get. Don't worry about it. Humans will find a way, okay? And then nomadic. Population growth from integration is plus 15%. Resettlement cost is minus 25%. This is nice if you want to move things around. I don't know why you'd want to do that as a xenophilic population, but we'll get to that in a bit. Probably in a future video. If you want more on like xenophilic versus xenophobic, let me know. Wasteful. Consumer goods upkeep is plus 10%. This one sucks. And will help you feel the need to not consume so many things. Then you got special democratic things. You get Beacon of Liberty. Monthly unity goes up. Empire size from populations goes down. Idealistic Foundation gives you citizen population happiness plus 10%. And then you're a Xenophile. And you can be a fanatic egalitarian as well. These give you pros and cons. Now, red seems like it would be bad like this one, but it's not. Red means that it's a category 2 instead of a category 1. So it gives you even better deals. Now, I'm going to show you. I don't think anybody has 3. Oh, no, we do. So see how these have 3 greens? Like, oh, that's better. Like, if you didn't know that, you would think fanatic militarist or fanatic xenophobe is bad, but it's actually very good. So like for these ones, the green would just be minus 10% claim influence costs and plus 10% ship fire rate. The Tsin are really fun if you want to play like an expansive combative playthrough. They're really good at that. They are difficult to manage in the early game though, and so they're better further on. But there's slavery guilds and police states, so you have like, it just makes it a little bit difficult to manage if you don't understand some of the nuances. So I wouldn't recommend these at first, but they are fun once you figure out how to do ship combat and stuff. But Fanatic Militarist is going to give you plus 20% ship fire rate, which is huge, and then minus 20% claim influence cost, which is also super dope. So you're able to expand easier, faster, more efficiently than other empires. What was that triple? So this one is like egalitarian, spiritualist, pacifist. These all kind of suck. And then Shadow Council is kind of weird. I do love that they're like deviants with Shadow Councils. So anyway, but I'm not gonna get too much into this one. Note that they are mammalian, so they have the same ships as Earth. So these are all these all have like the avians have like avian type ships, reptiles, reptilians, humans, humanoid. Musculoids have musculoid ships. Fungoids have fungoid ships. And then these guys are also mammalian. I think these guys are reptilian. No, are these guys are arthropoids. So insects, baby. I would expect like more insects out there. Anyway, so let's say, so one of the best parts about this game though, empire spawning is allowed on this one. Is allowed to appear in a regular game instead of a randomly generated empire. This one's not. So I created two different ones. This one is Tantric Panther Sanctum. So this is to play out a society of Wonder Woman. If you've read Wonder Woman or know any of the background on that, it's like Wonder Woman society would be ruled by instead of through fear and military might, would be ruled through sensuality. So these guys are xenophobes who hate everyone else, just like they do in Themyscira, and then they are fanatic militarists with this nationalistic zeal distinguished admiralty. So these were my first ones, and then they preside over a bunch of simp males. It was fun, but it wasn't super good. I came up with another one. I don't know why they're not on here. They got deleted, but I don't know what happened with them. But I had another one that was reptiles that were really fun. But these guys are my most recent playthrough, and they're my favorite ones. So I'm just gonna go through edit to show what we have. You can change the appearance, what they look like, what the world looks like, species names you can choose. These are the Eternal Watchers. So these guys in my role-playing game thinking was like, these are the four-eyed birds who soar high in the sky and see themselves as the custodians of the galaxy and watchers, as custodes in Latin. So it's kind of fun, like, you know, like the custodians of the galaxy, protectorates of the downtrodden, but in like a very condescending kind of way. So anyway, you can change what they look like. You can also choose their origin. Some of these bottom three are DLC locked. So Gaia World 1 would be kind of fun for some cultures, but like if I was to do like arthropoids, like insects that were genetically modified and created by a dead overlord, would be kind of fun. Anyway, then you can choose your government and ethics, and here you see you can choose like 3. You get 3 ethics points, so you can change these. For these guys, I've done fanatic materialists because these guys are very sophisticated technology-wise, but are thoughtful about how they spread that. And then are militarists because they punish the heathens throughout the galaxy who would step on the downtrodden. And then you also will choose. I'll show you this. Your traits. So I chose Venerable, which is the longest. You get leader lifespan is plus 80 years. It's just nice to not have to switch them out. It's helpful for your unity gain too. So if you ever are going to do something that has like short lifespans, because you basically pick pros and cons to your species to meet a certain point value. So you get like net +2. So you could just choose 2 + 1s. But I chose slow breeders and non-adaptive because I was planning to be a materialist, and I'd just create robots that would just go and just go live on, especially like mineral planets that would harvest all the minerals, send them back to my home planet, and help build out my empire that way. And then I was choosing not to be xenophilic or xenophobic with these guys, just to kind of see how, just kind of feel it out and decide. There are pros and cons to that. Modifiers will like massively impact your gameplay. So whoever you run into first, if you run into xenophiles who are really nice, then you'll feel xenophilic through like not necessarily through role playing like yourself mentally, but the game will give you prompts that push you that direction. For me, like I have several xenophobic factions because the 3 planets away from my home planet was a xenophobic race that immediately went to war with me. So yeah. But it did play into like the role-playing game I was having. Is like exactly these guys, as soon as they hit faster than light transit, they met these giant galactic douchebags and needed to protect the rest of the galaxy from them. And so that kind of was fun for me. And then non-adaptive was the materialist. So venerable is really nice. These guys live a long time and they're intelligent. I wanted them to be like very sophisticated research-wise. You can't start as a sophisticated empire as a player. It's kind of annoying. I kind of wish you could. Or a fallen empire, but you can give yourself those little tech boosts that are really helpful. I think having played through a few times, not all the way to end game, to be fair, because that's like a 100-hour commitment. But having played through 20 hours of gameplay for each game, I would say that technology has felt most valuable to me. Even better than just like military bonuses, which are good, to be fair. Oh, government and ethics, though. So you can choose what type of authority you want to have later on. If you have Utopia, you can do Hive Mind. If you have the Synthetic Dawn story pack, you can do like an AI intelligence, and then you can do a corporate intelligence if you have Make It Corp DLC. I've heard that Utopia is like the happiest one, and all the other ones are pretty doom and gloom, especially Leviathan. But I'll try those out. If you guys want to know about specific DLCs, let me know in the comments down below. And a bunch of you have probably already played this game, but I had never seen it, even though I'd heard about it. So I just kind of want to give everyone a brief overview. Then I chose Oligarchic because these guys, I didn't do Shadow Council, but it wouldn't have been totally off brand. I just really wanted Technocracy. And then I wanted Distinguished Admiralty as well, just because I was militarist, and Distinguished Admiralty is amazing. Admirals in general start at level 3, so you don't have to train them up. And then if you have a leader cap through technology, then you live long, be venerable, then all of your leaders can get to massive level hikes, and that gives you huge bonuses in battle. Beyond just this general 10% ship fire rate increase and fleet command limit. So that worked out well for me. Let's jump into some gameplay. I'm going to show you what... Oh, and then you can actually choose what your ships look like. I didn't actually like how the avians looked for these guys. I don't think the avians look like avians. I feel like the avians look like water dwellers, even though the aquatics look like this. They're like... Yeah, it kind of does. I wasn't buying into that. I guess these are all like filled with water, so I guess that makes sense. Not just like, maybe not something that is like an aquatic being that has to live and breathe in water, but more of like more of something that just had an underwater empire. How about that? Like not amphibian. Like if there was an amphibian race. Like why isn't there an amphibian race? Anyway. Okay. And then you can choose what your ruler looks like. All right. So back. Well, let's just go ahead and jump in as anybody, and I'll show you some of the modifiers for creating a game. I would not recommend starting as Skildari Confederacy, by the way. These guys are weak. And they're charismatic, so they build up pretty quickly, but they're pacifist xenophiles. So anytime you get attacked by somebody else, you kind of get screwed. For some reason, I thought these guys also had short lifespans, but they don't. Venerable is awesome, by the way, for the Blorg communality. Xenophile militarist actually goes pretty well together. But let's do... These guys are really hilarious. So these guys are sedentary. They don't like to move around a lot. They live pretty long. They're conservationists. Resilient. Defense army damage is high. And they're xenophile spiritualists that are ruled by exalted priesthood and an efficient bureaucracy. So they're like these like hyper-religious not mind control, telepathic beings. So these guys are kind of fun. Let's just jump in. So you're gonna choose your galaxy size. Medium, I think, is what starts you off with. Medium has always felt a little cramped to me, but I would suggest starting off there. And then if you want achievements in any Paradox game, you have to do Iron Man. Iron Man in this can really suck because if you take a left turn somewhere, like quite literally, you can lose the entire 20 hours of gameplay in a split second. So, but I wanted achievements, so that's how I've been doing it. Okay, so you can move around with WASD. You're going to start off with a few things just to give you a very cursory overview. Outliner is your best friend, as well as, and I hate that you have to mouse over it, but on this left side, it's going to give you all your major things. Technology is the only one that's not bound to an F key, to a function key. That I really use a lot. Claims you don't really have to do this way. You can just click on them here. This matters more for when you encounter other empires. That won't happen for a while. And then you're gonna see all of your resources at the top. You want to try to keep these in positive as much as possible. And then energy is gonna be like your controlling currency. You can buy and sell everything on a internal market, but energy credits basically work as your money. And then you're just exchanging that money for minerals. Minerals build upgrades. They expand facilities on your planets. Food feeds your population. That one's pretty straightforward. Consumer goods can both provide resources to your populations to live, as well as be turned into other things. And then minerals can be turned into alloys. Alloys are used to build ships. Then you also notice if you hover over each one, okay, but energy is consumed by basically everything. Minerals are consumed by jobs, usually being turned into alloys, and then they can be turned into other things as well. Yeah. Oh, then also used by construction ships. And it'll also tell you how to get more. So you can build mining districts on planets, and then mining stations using construction ships. So it's really the only ways to get minerals. But I find that minerals are one of the few things that you don't usually run into being cramped on as long as you expand pretty quickly. Food, consumer goods, alloys, that covers that. Influence is how you claim new systems, whether that be through war or just expanding into already known systems. And then unity is how you recruit new leaders, and it is also how you will pick your traditions, which are extremely valuable. And then you are going to see your outline of research. This is how much you get each month for each individual one. And then there are 3 types of research that you can do in parallel or in tandem with each other. Tandem makes it only sound like 2, but it's more than that. Then you also have all of these exotic things. These are going to matter more in the long run, but they're each used to do special things. And I won't tell you what all of those are because they do kind of give some things away. Note that there is like an end game scenario that was shown at the beginning of the game. Well, like as you're picking modifiers, it's like 400 years in the future, so you have a lot of time to get there. 300. Sorry, you start at 2200, and I think it happens at 2500. So you need to be able to build a fleet, be able to defend yourself, depending on exactly what there are several different end game scenarios that can happen. And then this is your empire size. Once it gets over 100, then you start to get modifiers that will negatively impact you, making it harder to expand, making it more expensive for you to maintain your empire, etc. Then these guys have extra envoys, so typically you only start with 3, sometimes just 2, and you can send them around to meet with other people, to expand your influence abroad, build spy networks, etc. And then population, star base capacity, that's how many you have out of how many you can build without hitting I actually think you just can't build them in this one, but you definitely, if you like take over one from somebody else that you can't afford, then it'll cost you significant increase of energy credits across all bases. Then your total naval capacity, how many ships you have out of how many you can actually afford. At the very beginning of the game, you need to do a couple things. One, pick your research. Personally, you do whatever you want. Weapons are good, reactors are good. The physics research in general, I think, is one of the better ones. Physics and engineering society is good in the long run. But the biggest thing I do first, I didn't even see it up here. First, you can look for these paths. This just means that like this is used to unlock something else, which is often used to unlock something else. It's part of a longer path. For this one, I don't really care about the covert operations path. That's not what's meaningful. Just getting more research from researchers is kind of a big deal. You can hover over here. Base station jobs. So researchers right now are giving me the majority of my research. So upgrading this is going to give me more of that research, which is going to allow me to research more things more quickly. It's dope. Do that. Society scale, I do the same thing. You do want this planetary unification lump sum is also good. These will change though, so you won't get the same options unless they're highlighted like this. So this one is locked. See how it says this technology will remain as a valid option until it is researched? You can come back and do this. If you get bad options, like hydroponics farm, you don't need in the beginning. You don't run into food issues until you've colonized like 5 planets, maybe 3 planets, depending on how you build and how fast your population expands. I would not worry about this one. Naval capacity from soldier jobs, I would not worry about. You're not going to be doing soldier jobs. They just cost you upkeep, and you're not going to be interacting with anyone landing on your planet. Soldiers are just for planetary invasions and planetary defense, and that's pretty rare, to be honest, especially in the early game. It happens a lot more often in the late game. Don't get me wrong. That will definitely happen, and it becomes like an important mechanic. If you want to see more about that, let me know in the comments down below. But here, we're just going to pick society research, and looks like we get the same thing down here. These resource increases are very helpful in the long run, just to manage economies of scale. Economies of scale, for those of you who didn't take economics, it's basically the principle that, like, if you are a company and you're making iPhones, the more you make iPhones, the better you'll get at making iPhones. And when you make a whole bunch of iPhones, you will have cost savings across the stack. So the like easiest consumer way to represent this is by going to Costco or some other like wholesale food store. You can buy in bulk, usually cheaper per item than you can individually, and that's because of transaction costs. Usually, like, it costs more to ship individuals one by one than it would to ship just one big thing. If you're buying somebody else who got it in bulk for the same reasons, the same cost before you, gave you a cost reduction, so that it just kind of like stacks on top of each other down the chain. All right, so you're gonna pick your research. What are you gonna do? Next, you're gonna come to your starbase. You're gonna go to your shipyard, and you're gonna immediately build a science ship. You're gonna take your other science ship. E is gonna bring you to galaxy view, by the way, back and forth. So that's gonna be one of your favorite keys. Then you're gonna want to just go around. The planets that spawn near you from the modifiers I chose will always be habitable. So we're gonna go to the one that has 2, and we're gonna go. Looks like one is a size 10 and one's a size 24. So one is smaller than this one. We'll go here, and then we're just gonna survey the system. We want to start getting our systems, a few systems around us surveyed. Now, from the galaxy map, if it shows these things here, note that it shows 5 research here, 12 minerals, and 13. But I'm only showing 322. That's because I've already built some stuff here, but there's more stuff that I can build. So right here, like neither of these things have a station built around them. So what I like to do generally is have 2 construction bots, but one always with automatic construction. An early game, you want to get up to basically about 5 science ships is what I can usually manage, and about 4 or 5 construction vessels. And you want to just expand as quickly as possible. Nobody can build in the middle because it's the center of the galaxy, and you're locked out of that. So I don't need to investigate too much further this way. I want to have a picture in my mind of what I want my empire to look like. There are I think there's like 16 other players. It changes because it's usually some of them are ranges. It's not always the same number. It's not always the same types. They don't always have the same thoughts. But in my mind, I kind of want to see a couple of things. One, I want to have an amount of space that is around me that I can protect myself. And then the second thing I want to do, this kind of sucks for me, is I want to be at a nebula. So it looks like Daturi Expanse, and these will move. They'll often be the same names, but they'll move around. Crossroads Nebula is going to be too far. There's definitely going to be too many things here. Snake Nebula is too far. And being in the center, even if I was, this would be really difficult, by the way, but even if I took the whole center, you're like, okay, I'm just going to be the center. Nobody can invade me this way. It's not true. I'll talk about why that's not true. But this is so much further to move ships between until you get to late game, and how people can move between them is wormholes and gateways. And you can build gateways between your empire later on in the game so that you can jump between places. You can also upgrade your engine technology to move faster between them. But you really do want to pick, in my experience, out in kind of a circumference here. So that is kind of the basic general thrust of how to get started in the game. Why don't I show you? So you can pause and play. You can also increase the speed. Those are kind of just the very, very basics of it. You can also see if I zoom in here. You can I have ships that are and planets you can do control number to assign them. So you'll see this science ship is here, and he's going to go around. He's going to start surveying everything. And I just want to get as many of these out as possible. You can also just click on them from the map here. You'll need to assign a leader, which means you need to recruit a leader.
Anomaly found.
And then for me, in the very early game, I'll just leave these be. You can come back to them. And I want the survey speed one is great. Also, just like the cheaper cost ones are also good. But very, very first one, if you can get surveying, that's awesome. And then you can just do automatic surveying. It'll go around and find them. But usually with the first couple, like I like to survey 1 or 2 systems, but nobody's really going to be here for that. So what I'll do is I'll just explore, and I'll just fly until I run into somebody else. You won't see their empire. You'll have to do first contact protocols. And that's a fun thing to work through your first time. And you get to kind of choose your stance towards other species. But the most important thing here is to just get out, see what's happening, see where other species are, and then race them to close the gap between empires. You will want to prioritize going where you have the most pressure. Now, there are one group called Fallen Empires, and I'm going to walk through this in a game where I'm a little bit further along. Though they will never expand, so they will kind of be like blockers for you. And basically with this, you're just going to keep exploring. You're going to get all these like bonuses that happen as you go along. These are your traditions for your first one. I do recommend Discovery is pretty good. You're going to notice they give you a general thing here. This one gives you increased research speed, but this one will give you survey speed increase, which is super helpful. Another really good one will be as expansion. You can just build star bases for cheaper, and honestly, here you can choose how you do it. I think we're xenophilic, so we want to do that anyway. So for this, it makes your populations happier when you choose protocols that are in line with their thought processes. So, and then for this one, you'll notice as well that you get a finisher effect of 10% research speed. Ascension perks unlocked is +1. And the Ascension perks, I'll show you in a second, but they're very good. And then for this one, the down dice things are also really good. You're going to get research, an additional research alternative, scientist level caps. And so usually I do say drill down as quickly and as fast as you can on a single one. But the one exception I would say is probably, and I might not have wanted to pick this, by the way. I might have wanted to have recruited more science researchers first before I even picked this. Especially since anomaly research speed I'm not doing quite yet. But if you do this one and the starbase claims, they exponentially cost more unity. This also goes up in cost as your empire expands. So just taking like the first one out of that next one and the first one out of this one to just be able to build your empire up faster, more efficiently, could be very helpful. I think this is tied to the home planet, which is not actually what you want. You want this like tied to your star base. Your planet, you can always click on up here, and then you can build extra sectors if I want like more mining districts. I find that industrial districts and energy are usually the most important early on. You can get minerals pretty easily just by expanding and building them out. But that is that. Then you can click on your shipyards over here. This is your fleets, each of your ships. And I can see like this guy is still traveling because we're paused. This guy is doing survey. So you just kind of want to keep track, make sure everybody is being active and doing something. You don't want them sitting around. You'll notice as soon as he gets there, I'm gonna wait for this for a second. It'll show like the sleeping because he's inactive. So you just want to not have it be like that because that's just wasted time. And then, so for this one, I'm actually just going to go to automatic surveying and just try to expand a little bit in all the directions at the very beginning, just to kind of throw out my elbows and any, so I have options. This one is one I would not expand to though, because if I go here and I go here and I go here, no one will be able to build here because it'll be blocked off. So that's what I'm saying. You want to kind of send out your tendrils. So here I get another tradition. So here, this is what I'm talking about. I want to go for expansion. This is going to give me colonial development speed plus 25, which is not that great. So it's not the one I would choose first, but the influence cost is really nice. Empire size is good, and upkeep are good later on. Like, this is worth getting later on, but just getting this influence cost down is really helpful. And the reason for that is once I survey a system, I can go out and build there. And you'll see here it costs me 63 of my influence, but I'm only getting 3 a month. So you can't just build out as fast and far and quickly as you want to. It takes time, and that can be a little bit agitating. So as I'm exploring up here, I see a couple of things. One, if I could build one here and I could build one here, I would close off all of this. If I also built here, then I would get this whole area that I don't have to expand to yet. I don't have to go there yet. I just need to block other people from coming and getting it. And you would close your borders so they can't come in. They can use wormholes and gateways later on, but that's so much further down the line that this usually ends up being the best game plan. So the most thing, universally, I would say, focus on your good techs, get your techs up as quick and fast as possible, and just send out your tendrils in a way that will give you the most space. Let's just see here. I just want to showcase how this starbase influence thing would work.
Complete.
So we'll see how fast this guy surveys. In fact, let's just bump up the speed to fastest, and we'll just wait for him to finish. You also notice here, this is all blocked off. So this is a good one that's like, okay, I don't need to do anything there. I need to like close this one off so nobody can come in here, but this could save me a lot of space. Archaeological dig sites are really good. You can get great benefits from them. They can also be dangerous. But here, let's now show you. If I come here, this thing costs 63 still because I haven't expanded that much.
Anomaly found.
What if I do this influence cost? Again, I just leave these be for now. That should reduce its cost down to 56. So that'll preserve one of your most valuable resources, which is influence in the early game. And as you build more science ships and they're all exploring at the same time, you're going to build more construction ships. You'll just be pounding these out. Alloys are pretty, as you see, we have over 600. Alloys are not the restriction here. It is very much the influence. And the faster and further I push out, the more secure my borders will be. The better spacing I will have, and the more options and opportunity I will have to build on different resources in the early game without being too contended by my neighbors. And just having that resource spread is extremely valuable. Okay, now with that out of the way, I'm just going to show you a quick one of a game that's a little further along. So for this one, I have been at war, and you'll notice that I have spread out pretty far. So this is I'm in maroon here. You're gonna be like, oh, look at all this empty space. But just look at this one as an example, right? This guy has no pathway up here, so I'm not under any pressure to do these ones. And this has volatile motes, some of those really expensive and valuable materials in the end game. It has lots of different types of research. I've got minerals, energy. So this is just like a very valuable part of the galaxy that he is not able to come to so long as I keep my borders closed to him. If you don't close your borders, they can still expand here, but it costs them a ton of influence. Just gets to be annoying. So this is a good example of somebody doing that. So these guys, the Poblan Empire, they were trapped down here. They took a wormhole. So you do have to be careful. And I didn't close them off because they were they splintered off from somebody. Somebody had civil war and they splintered off, and so I didn't close my borders to them in time, so they came through this wormhole and were able to build a colony here. So I'll have to go to war against them or make them a vassal or something. These guys are a vassal. I'm letting them expand, but when they expand, they have to give me a share of their influence, which makes it easier for me to expand. But it also is closing off this Daturi expanse, and I'll either attack them later on or just ask them to be part of my confederation, or just skim the top of the money off of them to pay for myself. The regime of Vadajigun, these guys were total dicks. They were the ones who attacked me in the early game. Their main planet was here, and my planet was here. Eternitas, Vadajigun. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, exactly 3 planets away. So yeah, that was fun. Luckily I had invested in military and had done quick research on military stuff, so I was able to and I had invested in my economy, and I had spread myself out in a way that blocked them. These guys didn't actually show up till later in the game. They spawned later in the game, which was kind of fun. That was one of those modifiers that you noticed that I hadn't used before, but that was kind of enjoyable. Some of these were like more advanced. I think United Krolls were more advanced and already in existence. Saigans have been really similar to me, so you'll see I stretched out really far and fast here to try to get to Larkin's Singularity in time. I didn't quite do that, so now I'm just trying to lock down Omicronic Persi, and then I've put claims on these, which you can see here. I don't know why, but you can see I have claims on these ones here. I'm not sure why it's not letting me claim new things right away. Maybe just because I don't have sufficient influence. But anyway, so I have claims on these, so if I went to war and I held them, I could settle for status quo, and I would just keep those. Doing war in this is very complicated. You'll want to give that a few tries. Maybe don't do that on an Iron Man 1, because you can both get wrecked and have very bad outcomes from your war. Yeah, make sure it's a war for territory if you want territory, not just like a war of aggression or a war of subjugation, because sometimes they'll just they won't surrender. The regime will be toppled. Somebody else will take their place, and then using interstellar law will cancel the war because that's a new regime, a new empire. They'll be like, "Oh, we weren't at war with you." They'll try to be your friend, and you'll be like, "No, I just wanted your territory, man," or "I just wanted you to stop growing so that I could take over this space." Anyway, that's what makes it fun. So it's a little bit like playing Star Trek out in real life. I would summarize that. And anyway, there's all kinds of there's a galactic senate. You vote on policies. You have to try to negotiate with all these other different regimes. You have different amounts of diplomatic power and authority. You'll see I'm like number 5 right now in the universe. Yeah, so these two were more advanced than everyone else. Zaxian Union and Pause, Joke Stellar Commonwealth. And then United Kroll, Bakarians, and myself are all, and Saigans, Vakun, Tranquil Commonwealth. We're all pretty close to each other and just trying to get better vassals, improve our fleets, preparing for war, basically, against each other. Blorg Forerunners, you're like, oh, those guys are really small in the middle. Sin Conservers, both are fallen empires. They will not expand, but they have tons of power. So you want to be careful. You'll notice their station, 180k. I think my strongest station. I don't even think my home base is my strongest one, like militarily, but it's 1k. So, and then my strongest fleet, which I do have one of the strongest fleets, at least for similarly advanced folks, is around 15,000. So, yeah, it's gonna be a push to fight those guys. And then there'll be other like little minor factions, or like these are these weird mining things that like protect mining planets from a destroyed empire. They're ancient mineral operations. Space amoeba that can like move between dimensions will also float into your space. You can be friendly to them or hate them. All kinds of options that you have. So anyway, if you're just trying to roleplay something, you want to mix it up, you're waiting for patch 3.18, I found this to be very valuable. Let me know what you guys thought about this video specifically, what you think about this game, what do you think about this genre of video. Until next time, good luck out there. Have some fun. Keep on gaming. Bye for now.